So, welcome back everyone to the afternoon session. We now have Frankenko with us, and he'd like to take the opportunity to say a few words before we carry on with the project.
Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. First of all, please accept my apologies for being so late. I must take this chance to welcome you. Morning today, unfortunately, my schedule didn't allow me to join you in time. But now I am very glad to be. I should have been my welcome address to all of you, to all of us who have gathering together today on the occasion of a joint workshop organized by by Lomonosov State University, by University of Nottingham, and supported by Russian Foundation for Basic Research. The first Russian-British workshop with the subject of the perspectives for hyperpolarization of MRI in precision medicine. This vector of research brings about the convergence approach. Convergence is now a very popular word, not only in political economics too, but also in physics too, like interdisciplinary research mentioned. That attract the attention of professional mathematicians, physicians, chemists, people worked in the field of fundamental biomedicine. First of all, I would like to say my words of graduate to rector Moscow State Lomonosov University, academician Viktor Sadovnichev, and administration of the University of Nottingham, as well as all representatives of agencies taking part in our workshop for their effort to support the initiative and make it happen. I am strongly convinced that our today's meetings will be successful. It's a common knowledge that any initiative, any innovation in science, and any breakthrough in technology begins from the basic research. In Russia, we use the word fundamental research. And we are eager to find the ways to facilitate it. We are willing to find key ideas where science can bring about the most prominent results. We are willing to develop and to enhance the mutual understanding between the scientists of different countries, in particular in these turbulent times. This approach of joint efforts of different countries is widely popular in global practice and in science in particular. The Institute of Laser Information Technology of Russian Academy of Science, now he was reorganized to the Federal Research Center Crystallography and Photonics. Many people visit our institute. This facility is situated in Shatura, a small city to the east, 150 kilometers to the east from Moscow, and in Troitsk. Troitsk now the new part of the Moscow, big Moscow, large Moscow. We have had the honor to work for many years, has a long history of fruitful cooperation at the University of Nottingham. More than 30 years ago, Sir Martin Polyakov, former Royal Society Chairman, Vice President, and me commenced our scientific collaboration. We still cooperate these days, more than 30 years. Last May, Sir Martin Polyakov took part in the 6th annual meeting of Global Research Council here in Moscow. The meeting was a bright success, really. It was attended 128 officials from 67 science support agencies, represent 51 countries and 2 international organizations. In total, more than 160 people from 62 countries of the world attend the forum, taking into consideration participants of round tables and working groups, invited guests, and keynote speakers. Science diplomacy was one of the main topics in science for our discussion and science program of this meeting. I think, up to my understanding, today's event is a bright example of scientific diplomacy too. Together with our colleagues from the United Kingdom, we carry out joint research, take part in scientific programs. We shall discuss this today with you. Allow me to wish fruitful work and new useful contacts for all of us. I wish the ideas to be named and discussed today and implemented in practice. And I would like to say some words about the following. Speaking about the workshop results, I believe it will be appropriate to request the administration of Lomonosov Moscow State University and the University of Nottingham to organize a joint lab. As a first proposal, it's a subject for discussion, of course. The joint lab, hyperpolarization MRI in precision medicine, like the title of our seminar today, on the basis of 2 university platforms. Thank you very much for your attention. I wish you all a very success. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for those words, which really echo what we heard from Sir Martin Polyakov this morning, and we thought it would be nice if you too could hear his message to you. So.
Dear colleagues, I'm really sorry that I cannot be at your conference in Moscow. I have to be here in Nottingham, looking after my students. I have worked for many years with academician Panchenko, Vladislav Yakovlevich, and we first met 32 years ago at a conference in Czechoslovakia, near Prague, and we have been in contact and collaborating ever since, particularly through his colleague who sadly died earlier this year, Viktor Bagratashvili. And this conference that you're attending started almost by chance when Vladislav Yakovlevich was visiting Nottingham, I think about a year ago, and he met Galina Pavlovskaya, and they started talking, and the idea of this conference arose and has been developed over the past year. So I'm really excited that the collaboration between Russia and Nottingham has taken an extra step and is being broadened out very considerably. As you will have heard from Peter Morris's introduction, Nottingham has a long tradition in MRI and magnetic resonance in general. And I am still very proud that our university won the Nobel Prize through the work of Sir Peter Mansfield in the field of MRI. I have never worked in magnetic resonance, though I have a particular love for the element xenon, because I worked for many years looking at infrared spectroscopy of materials dissolved in liquid xenon. Infrared spectra, you may remember, the absorptions are caused by the vibrations of atoms in a molecule. But xenon has only one atom in the molecule and cannot vibrate. Therefore, it does not absorb infrared light at all. And so it is a dream solvent for studying the... And so for many years, I did research involving spectroscopy in liquid xenon, and my colleague, Professor Mike George, is now doing some really very elegant experiments looking at xenon complexes of a whole series of transition metals. I know you're not chemists, but you can see there are some transition metals on my tie here. So I very much hope that this conference is going to be a real success. For the past 2 years, I have been working with the Russian Foundation of Basic Research, which, as you know, Vladislav Yakovlevich is the president of the RFBR, and we have been working together on the topic of science diplomacy. This is ensuring that there is strong scientific contact between scientists in different countries across the world, irrespective of the political situation between their governments. And in May, I was privileged to be one of the guest speakers at a conference organized by Vladislav Yakovlevich, coinciding with the meeting of the Global Research Council in Moscow. He is co-chair of the Global Research Council, something that I'm really pleased about. And I gave a lecture explaining how important it is for scientists in different countries to have strong scientific discussions. So I really hope that in this conference here in Moscow, or rather there in Moscow, that you will have great success and all sorts of new scientific collaborations will be formed. It is really important that it is not only old scientists like me that are collaborating, but it is the younger scientists, the new generation, that need to form their collaborations that will go on for a long time in the future. Now, the Russian delegates will know that Mendeleev, the founder of the periodic table, was famous not only for the periodic table, but also for measurements of the strength of vodka. And here I have a bottle of Mendeleev vodka, and you can see the periodic table on the front. So I feel it is appropriate, since we're having this conference, that I should drink a toast to the success of your conference. So notice that I also have a Polyakov vodka glass. Polyakov is a rival brand, a French brand of vodka. The Mendeleev vodka is better. So I will drink to the success of your conference. За успеха вашей конференции. Желаю вам всего доброго и надеюсь, что у вас будет очень удачная конференция. За вами. Спасибо за внимание.
So should we all ask for Mendeley vodka from now on, or is there, yeah, it's the best? No,
For some.
Evening
session.
Sorry, for the evening session?
Evening
Yeah.
session.
Okay, well, we now move on to the next talk in our scientific program, which is from Chengbo Wang from the University of Nottingham in the China campus in Ningbo, and he's going to talk about hyperpolarized noble gas and its from lab to clinic.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you. First, currently I'm working in the University of Nottingham, but a different country, a different campus. I work in Ningbo, China. But I need to make a disclaimer. Most of this work I'm talking about is done when in the United States. I used to work in University of Virginia, Hyperpolarized Gas Center for 10 years. So most of the work I taught is work with Professor John Morgan, Professor Arthur Lisa, also some other guys. Okay. Let's start. So about 5 years ago, I went back to China. One problem I noticed for this field, hyperpolarized gas. No, one problem I think Lina already talked about this moment is the cost. In fact, hyperpolarized gas MR now somewhat is pretty expensive, not that reliable. Another thing is whether we can find a good applications, green applications. I think one reason why I went back to China is the gas MR looks like the most useful for lung disease. In China, we have the biggest population, and we have the biggest smoking population. I think in China we have like 300 million smokers. We estimate only for our patients with COPD, we have more than 100 million. The patients. Even the COPD has already become a major problem. I think it now is number 4 disease. Somebody predicts it's going to become number 3. The reason for death. So, but how to diagnose COPD? Currently, ROIC, a similar technique. We still use otherwise pulmonary lung function test. Otherwise, use CT. They get different problems. Okay. So, in fact, it's like this technique has been here for a while. The first paper was published, I think, is in 1994. But still, it didn't enter clinic. It gets some problems. The first thing, it says some good things. Why this technique is good? The signal strength. For hyperpolarized gas, the signal is created by external laser polarizer. Here, I show you a pretty old polarizer. I think it's built now the company called Polarion. It's like a built in 1990s. Okay. The signal is, the good thing is not proportional to the field strength. What that means, you really don't need a really strong imaging field. You don't need a 1.5 Tesla, 3 Tesla scanner. In fact, later on, I think somebody will show the slides. Sometimes you get 0.2 Tesla scanner, or even just an Earth field. You can still produce good image. And the polarization level, here, even in our lab, in your Virginia lab, we already can reach 70%. Okay? The signal strength has been greatly enhanced. With this strong signal, we can do lots of things. But here I only talk about 2 gases. And Thomas has mentioned this morning, he gets the 3rd gas, krypton. But I didn't do any krypton. For helium and xenon, to really use this technique, you still need some special modifications to your scanner. You can see the geomagnetic ratio is different, so you need a new IF amplifier, new RF coil. Also, we need a new power sequence. You need to notice the gas, it diffuses really fast. You need to design your power sequence carefully, okay? But there are some good things. The gas diffuses really fast. it can be used to measure the lung structures. Okay. I think for the whole world, using hyperbolic gas to image the real human body, maybe the whole world, I don't think, maybe we image a few thousand cases. But for our center, we already reach nearby 1,000. We have lots of experience. Still, we get lots of experience in helium, but recent years, helium became the problem. So recently, we begin to transfer to xenon. But anyway, you can see how to image a human body. The first thing, the polarizer. You fill the gas into the polarizer. Here there's a laser source. You turn on the polarizer, you polarize the gas. For helium-3, commonly it takes a few hours. We commonly do that overnight. But for xenon, it's much faster. It commonly takes, I think it's around 30 minutes. Okay? This is still a traditional method. After polarization, we just bring the gas, we call it dispense the gas. We fill the gas into a plastic bag. The bag is pretty small. Now it's a 1 liter bag. Commonly, if we do the helium-3 imaging, commonly we only use 100 cc helium plus 900 cc nitrogen as the buffer gas. Okay? But for xenon imaging, we increase the dose. But still, mostly it's 300 cc. At most, we use 500. We never use pure xenon. We bring the bag to the scanner. The scanner has already been adjusted. It can be suited to image the gas. You can see this special coil. We let the subject inhale the gas for the breath and just go. In less than 10 seconds, this is the image you are going to get. Even this image takes like 4 seconds. First thing you notice, a little bit different. Now, the thing you image, you find, is helium or xenon gas molecules. These molecules is in the airspace. In fact, the thing you measure is the airspace. Now, all this kind of chest, your arm, your background, the noise, we didn't image. So here you can see it's pretty bright and uniform, but for control healthy subjects. Here there are some dark spots. That's infant blood vessels. Because helium-3 couldn't enter blood vessels. Here is blood vessels. Okay? So basically we get, for a normal healthy subject, the gas distribution is pretty uniform. So anyway, in our center, we try different ways to investigate different clinical applications. We still don't know how to use the technique. We just think there are some interesting findings. The first thing, we call ventilation. We just let the subject inhale the gas, observe how the gas distributed over the lung. Here, in normal subjects, you can see gas distribution is pretty uniform. Patient with COPD, some area is closed. Also, for this area, they didn't get gas. We call it ventilation defects. There's big areas they couldn't get gas. In the severe case, you can see that this is pretty severe. Most part of the lung didn't work well. That's why this patient is short of breath. Another interesting finding is for this group of patients. We call it healthy smoker. For any clinical perspective, they are healthy. Their FEV1, all the things are healthy. However, if you take a look at their lung picture, you will find out there's lots of kind of plenty. The gas distribution is inhomogeneous. In fact, they think due to these small areas, the small area is closed due to mucus. Okay. I'll show you a picture, okay? This is that we developed this technique. We image the dynamic lung ventilation. This is how the lung, human lung, inhale the gas, exhale the gas. Okay. I have to say, I think there are some lots of interesting things, but this is the only image I get. Because why? The first thing, it's used lots of gas. Secondly, we don't know how to use it. We think this technique is useful, but personally, we don't know how to use it. I said maybe for pulmonologists, or the physician, you guys have a better idea of use this technique. Next thing is asthma. Asthma is a big problem. In fact, for asthma, you can see this is what we found, the ventilation MR in asthma patients. We compare that with FEV1. You can see this is for 6 different patients. The FEV1 becomes worse and worse. The highest one is 30%. The worst one only 34%. Basically, when the FEV1 begins to drop down, it appears more ventilation defects. But still, as I said, even for the whole MR field, we still don't know how to measure these things. I think people try different methods. For our group, what we try, we let the physician to count because the number of ventilation defects. I don't think that's an efficient way, but we still didn't come up with a new method how to use it. Similar things, this is our measure the correlate ventilation defects and spirometry. We get some correlations, but sometimes the R is negative 0.8. I don't think this method is not good. I think one reason is because spirometry, the FEV1, is never a sensitive method. Okay. For asthma, also another thing. I think this morning somebody mentioned about the idea. How could we use this technique? We tried. The first thing is, maybe you heard about that. Asthma, most of our asthma patients, sometimes they are pretty normal. However, if they do that exercise, it will induce the asthma. This is how it looks like. You can see normal subjects after exercise is induced asthma. The FEV1 dropped, similarly, the ventilation defects appear. Okay. Similar things, you can use albuterol to treat asthma. This is during asthma attack. There is lots of ventilation defects. You give the patient albuterol, after like a few minutes, you can see the ventilation defects disappear. I think the area open up. Okay. It looks promising. However, everybody knows for albuterol, this medicine really it didn't cure the asthma. It's just treat asthma temporarily. You can see here the asthma attack, ventilation defects, post treatment, 35 minutes, the ventilation defects are gone. However, after 3 hours, it appears again. This is the problem. Okay? In fact, currently, I think most of the medicine to treat asthma and COPD are similar. They didn't cure the disease. They just temporarily relieve the symptoms. We talk with the pharmaceutical companies, GSK, Merck. We always talk about that. We said, why you guys can develop so many medicines to treat cardiovascular disease, stroke, why not lung disease? They blame our field didn't come up with a new method, a sensitive method to diagnose lung disease. We think we don't have medicine. We think we don't have the diagnosis method. I don't know. Okay. Anyway. Also, we developed a different method, diffuser MR. DWR diffuser MR is pretty popular in MR field. We can measure the diffusivity. For the proton MR, we use water. Here, we use gas. Here, I just show you a case. This is a lung transplant patient. The left arm, you can transplant lung. The right arm is a lung with COPD. This is your CT. You can see some contrast, right? Not very accurate. This is diffuser MR. You can see here, I think I just tell you the numbers. The red means the EDC value is small. That means most of the lung structure is still there. The yellow and white means the EDC value is pretty big. Not loss of restriction, most of the lung structure is destroyed. I think you can see this, the native lung, loss of structure, abnormal structure. This is another EDC picture from a healthy lung and a lung with emphysema. Clearly, I think I don't need to see anything. You can see the big difference between a healthy subject and emphysema subject. How big the difference is? I think we can find out for a healthy lung is around 0.2. For a patient with emphysema, in the worst case, we can reach by 0.6, 3 times increase. It's big. Also, in fact, traditionally, in the longest disease, we just suspect, everybody knows. Okay? For a healthy subject, the lung structure is there, so the ADC value is normal. Okay? All right. However, for a patient with asthma or with COPD, we know that loss of lung structure is destroyed. So loss structure so destroyed, the ADC value is going to increase. This is how it looks like. Loss of yellow and red areas. My question is, how about asthma? Traditionally, we said that asthma is temporary. It's only temporary influence the lung function, but it didn't change the lung structure. This is one of my studies. We found out, here, the top one and the bottom one is two different techniques. The bottom one is developed by me. We call the long-term diffusion. We think it's more sensitive to the connectivity of the lung structure. At least from my observation, for this group of patients, we found there are some structural change. I still don't understand what this change means. I think there are some. Okay. Later on, I think another thing is secondhand smoking. Naturally, we think everybody knows smoking is bad. But how about secondhand smoking? Now we know secondhand smoking is not good. It can induce lung cancer, cardiovascular disease, but whether it can induce the lung structural change is not confirmed yet. I think now the publications, the results are pretty controversial. I get 3 group of patients. One is called low exposure, they didn't smoke. In their family, workspace, nobody smoked. Smoker, the last group is second smoker. One thing I need to mention, all these subjects, they're healthy. In any critical perspective, they're healthy. Okay, I'll show you the pictures. First thing, I get the global values, for every values, I average the ADC. You can see, even for this 3 group, you can already see the difference, right? For most healthy subjects, non-secondhand smoker, they are in small areas, small range. Or for smoker, this ADC is elevated. For secondhand smoker, around 1/3 is increased. In fact, this satisfies another observation we found. In the whole population, around 1/3 of people are very sensitive to smoking. Okay. Show you some pictures. Healthy subjects, all red, all healthy. Secondhand smoker. And clearly, I don't need to say anything. You can see the big difference. As I said, the red is good, the yellow is bad. Also, we also run another study, try to measure the effects of steroids. We treat a group of subjects using difficult to, the group subject we call difficult to treat asthma. Okay. Pre and post steroid, they make the changes, they only get 15 patients. First thing, the FEV1 and ventilation defects, they are varying the lung function. You can see pre and post treatment, there are some changes. What that means? This group, after this steroid treatment, the airflow obstruction, they improve. Then we measure the ADC, these 2 methods, pre and post treatment, no change at all. We think ADC measures the structure. So we think that abnormal microstructure induced in this asthma patient, it didn't change at all. It didn't respond to this medicine. In the below slides, I will show you some beautiful pictures. Still, as I said, we developed this technique, but we really didn't know how to use it. For the lung, one big function is to do the gas exchange. Basically, inhale, oxygen, ship out carbon dioxide. As I say, we have this technique, we can measure the oxygen max, the oxygen concentration in the lung regionally. Okay? Also, we have this kind of technique for the MR physicist. You know the technique, right? We use this technique to track the motion of the heart all the time. We modify this technique to track the motion of the lung. This is how the line is moving. You can see the top of the line is almost fixed. Most of the bottom line is moving. Still, as I said, I don't know how to use it. We only have this technique. We can roll. Okay. In fact, this picture is all the previous pictures I show you is from helium. But for the whole field, now we met a problem. The helium-3 supply. As Galina mentioned, helium-3 is a byproduct atom weapon. Now, we couldn't get it. It's too expensive. So gradually, we transfer xenon. The first thing, all things helium can do, xenon can do as well. Maybe we need a little bit more gas, okay? But still, we can do all the things the same. But xenon, in fact, we can get some new information because xenon can dissolve into blood. Okay, so except all the kind of ADC ventilation, we get new information we call exchange. This is not my results. In fact, this is a picture request from Duke group, fast finish group. This is xenon. Even this is in mouse. I just tell you, they have one control group, one left-hand group. For this left-hand, what they treated, they keep the lung structure there, but they killed the blood vessels. Okay? Here shows the xenon. You can see the airspace shows some changes, but not very big. This is the barrier. It's still there's gas here. The barrier, the lung structure is still there. The red blood cells. This is this change. How much xenon dissolved into the red blood cell is gone. Okay. I think recently, after I left University of Virginia, joined the Unhem group, you will get some new results. Now they can image both the dissolved phase and gas phase xenon at the same time. But because the time is really limited, I didn't ask for new slides. Anyway, there are some new pictures I will show you. This is a request results from Harvard University STEM-PASS group. What I want to show you is for hyperpolarized gas MR. The previous pictures I show you mostly is done at 1.5 Tesla. Why we use that? The only thing is 1.5 Tesla scanner is easy to get. In fact, we don't need that strong field. With the low field, we can get similar results. You can see some parts they use 0.2 Tesla scanner to get similar results. And the gas they are using is zero ventilation MR. I would say the image quality is similar. Okay. So as I said, even this morning, Galina already mentioned this problem. So the hyperpolarized gas, the whole field, has been here for over 30 years. But still, we didn't enter the clinic. We are sure there are some problems. One problem I talked with Galina and Thomas, they mentioned, is the cost. How reliable the technique is, how easy, and it's too expensive. I think Thomas and Galina get some new ideas to try to reduce the cost. For me, I think there's another problem. We didn't really find a killer applications. I used to work in the United States. I developed this technique. I tell them, okay, I can diagnose COPD very early. I can diagnose COPD, the patient with COPD 10 years earlier than the current technique. Then the program director told me, so what? The only thing you can see is scary the patient. Right? Make the patient scary, fear, but nothing else you can do, because there's no medicine to treat them. Maybe the only thing is just I tell them, okay, you are going to get COPD, quit smoking. But that's the only thing. So basically, we don't have a really useful applications, clinical applications. I think this depending on not just us, also clinical field, to help us work together to find a suitable clinical applications. Okay? Thank you guys. Finally, I want to say my colleagues brought you so many slides. Thank you.
We've got time for questions. Yes.
I'm Gary Slotmusker, cardiologist. This is a correlation with method, which audibly is more early, it's also mentioned that the fusion, the normal is
Yes.
function. I will try to compare and see the correlation.
Yes. Yes, is like, how to say, for porphyria, for the lung, as we said, the primary method is, the primary function is do the gas exchange. Two is, one is ventilation, another is exchange, porphyria, right? So people try to measure porphyria, I don't know, there are several different ways. Otherwise, Gadolini, Henstemmer. Well, I think recently Siemens have a new technique they call it, I don't remember the name, called pure decomposed MR. But as I said, I don't know. I really have an idea. I think there should be some way to measure that, and it's very, very important. But really have no idea how to measure that. Thanks.
Okay, no more questions then. Thank you, Cheng-Bo. Thank you. And we'll continue with a clinical perspective of the imaging of pulmonary diseases by Cheng-Bo's colleague, Wei Sun from the University of Nottingham in China.
My name is Wei. I'm a radiologist from China, and thank you for invitation. And it's my pleasure to
Would you like to use the microphone?
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
We are talking about the imaging of pulmonary disease from a clinical perspective. So first, allow me to introduce our hospital. Ningbo No. 2 Hospital is located in the east of China and in a beautiful city by the sea. We can see the Chinese map is shaped like a rooster. Can you see it? There is the head of the rooster, and there is the tail of the rooster. So our hospital is just located in the chest of the rooster. So here the picture of our hospital is our hospital's the first building built in the 1926. So here are the history and the development. Our hospital is founded by U.S. Baptist missionary Mr. McGowan in 1843, and is the one of the earliest hospital of Western hospital in China. So in 1889, Dr. Brandt became the hospital directors, divided into internal and the surgical department, renamed the Huamei Hospital, and we renamed the renamed to Ningbo No. 2 Hospital in 1954. Recently, our hospital became the affiliated hospital of Chinese Academy of Science. It means our hospital has planned to build domestic and the international first-class hospital. So we have the two campuses, main campus and the north campus. Here is the main campus. It's more beautiful in reality, and we have a total of 2,600 beds. We also have a total of 2,755 staff, and include 892 physicians. We have more than 500 staff have the senior title, and we also have more than 500 staff have the master degree or above. Nearly 200 staff with overseas study experience. So this is a list of the specialty. The radiology department is the key academy of special at the hospital's level. And Ningbo Medical Imaging Consultation Center jointly established with China Imaging Research Center in 2012. Our radiology department authorized for clinical trial in last year. So our radiology department possesses advanced imaging equipment such as 1G Discovery 710 PET-CT and 5 spiral CTs, and another 3 on purchasing, 1 SPECT and another 1 on purchasing. We have 5 1.5 Tesla MR machines and 1 3 Tesla MR machine on purchasing. We also have 2 DSA machines. These machines not only can meet the clinical needs and can also investigate the molecular imaging in the preclinical research. So here's the data. According to the data of outpatients and ER visits in recent 2 years, we can see there is a significant increasing trend in 2017 compared to 2016. We also have 85,000 number of patients discharged in 2017, and the number of surgery and inpatient surgery have the increasing trend too. So all disease, and look at the pulmonary disease only in respiratory clinic. We also have 31,000 outpatients in 27, include more than 300 asthma patients and more than 450 COPD patients. The 1,220 numbers of lung cancer surgery data is come from the thoracic surgery department. That means we have a large number of cases of pulmonary disease. So, as we all know, China is a large country with a population with 1.4 million people. So, the leading cause of death in China is malignant neoplasm, similar to the global situation. And this is the trend in incidence rates and the mortality rates for selected cancers for males and females in China. We can see the lung cancer is the highest in either incident rates or the mortality rates among these cancers for males. And it's the second only to the breast cancer in incident rates for females. And the data reminds us there must be have the main reasons for the lung cancer. And in China, the tobacco epidemic in China is the main reason for lung cancer. So 3 in 10 Chinese adults smoke. That means roughly 320 million Chinese smoke. It represents about one third of all smokers worldwide. Among these smokers, there are 60% smokers have never contemplated quitting. So majority of the population is exposed to tobacco smoke. And the main reason for cancer in China with the Chinese characteristic exactly is air pollution. Ambient ambient air pollution in China has worsened following the dramatic increase in the industrialization and automobile use and the energy consumption. So this fraction has been associated with increasing risk of respiratory disease in China. If the patient come to a patient with lung disease and come to the hospital, the available imaging modality used for the diagnosis of lung disease include planar X-ray and CT, MRI, SPECT, and PET. Among this examination, CT and X-ray is the most common examination among this for the chest. So we can see this data. According to the random study of statistics from 15 July to 15 August this year, we have 11,363 patients underwent the lung CT scans, include 349 under the contrast enhanced CT. These patients, most of these patients are suffering from the lung cancer and the COPD, tuberculosis, etc. So over the same period, there is only 14 chest MRI undergoing, and mainly used for the assessment of cardiac or the physical examination. So clinic MRI of the lung is challenging due to the lungs' low protein density. In clinic, X-ray and CT occupy the majority of examination with their advantages, such as the low cost and the mature imaging technique, or they have high density resolution in short time, etc. And however, MRI and CT have the ionizing radiation and do not allow the real-time early monitoring of the pulmonary ventilations. So it's an urgent need for the MRI to carry out a new technique, such as the 1,2,9-Z, the gaseous contrast agent can overcome the lungs' low protein density. So HPMRI is helpful for the early diagnosis and the cancer staging or therapeutic effect assessment of the treatment. So MRI is a potentially ideal imaging modality for the early diagnosis or management of the pulmonary diseases. How to find a killer clinical application? We are looking forward to a breakthrough in MRI technology. So we'd love to provide a large number of cases of pulmonary disease for the new clinic in preclinical research. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you for that perspective. Are there any questions or comments?
Yeah, the question, so unlike Russia or Great Britain, you have a very different system in terms of how patients get directed from the hospital. So in Britain, you would go to a general physician who would assess you. And you showed all these, CT and other techniques that patients will be directed to. How is this decision being made? So I'm sick in China, what do I do? How do I do this? Do I go directly to the hospital, or how does it, and who makes the decision? What kind of diagnostic method is actually applied?
Yes, if I was a patient, I feel some bad with my respiratory system. I will go to the hospital and see the respiratory clinic physician, and the physician will choose the different examination for the patient. Firstly, they will consider the X-ray, and then if X-ray can't solve the problem, they can do some examination like the CT, but um, the MRI is not usually be used for the diagnosis of the lung disease.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry, I have a quick question. So you've showed these paragraphs of how many CTs, to how many people a CT is given, and how many people MRI is given. And you had like about 14 cases of MRI over a certain period of time, 2018, and thousands of CT cases. So how you do that? So you are proposing to basically introduce a wider usage of MRI, especially with microfluoric gases. How would it change the cost? I mean, how feasible it is actually for the economy to implement it? Does it make sense to make it as massive?
Sorry, can you repeat the last sentence?
Does it make sense economically, because it's going to be by far much more expensive test
Yeah.
if you swap CT diagnosis to MRI.
Mm-hmm.
So
The CT diagnosis, if it means the CT is difficult to diagnose the disease.
No, it's just right now you give to people a CT scan,
Mm-hmm.
and now you propose to replace it with MRI scan, right? It's safer and all,
Yes.
but it is more expensive. So how would it change your distribution?
The government will pay part of the charge. So most of patients, I think they didn't care about that.
Oh.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And yes, and we're going to continue with an overview of clinical MRI in Russia. That's going to be given by Valentin Snitsky.
Dear friends, from gases we are going again back to macro level because do you hear me? Okay, my microphone works. So I'm continuing topic of Guzel Ulumbekova. So she gave you an overview of the total situation with the public health care in Russia. So I'm I'm going to give you in brief, very in brief, a short overview of clinical usage of MRI, not experimental clinical MRI in Russia, because I'm a radiologist and I work for like more than 30 years with MRI. First of all, just a few words about history. I'm sure that our British colleagues know history much better than I do, and especially speaking about University of Nottingham, which is the birthplace of MRI, everybody knows it. Yeah, but nevertheless, something also occurred, took place here. I believe that everybody knows about the works of Evgeny Zavoysky, who contributed a lot to the development of paramagnetic resonance, and many people believe that without his works, further developments of nuclear magnetic resonance would be impossible. So there are international stipends and awards named after him, for example, by International Society of Magnetic Resonance. And I remember when I was a schoolboy, I remember pretty well when once in one of our popular scientific magazines, I saw a funny picture of some bizarre brain, well, saying that researchers found the way to somehow to depict human bodies using magnetic fields. In Soviet Union, again, what's I know, what I heard at that time, in the 80s, the early 80s, I was a medical student. What I heard that already, Professor Pirogov knows already, we had several groups working with the nuclear MRI, working with spectroscopy, with experimental applications of magnetic resonance. Already works on imaging were known, and we had several groups who were working on Soviet at that time, Soviet prototypes of MRI scanners. Really, some of these prototypes they had been developed and tested. I will show you some images as a proof, and later on they will use it as a base for Russian manufactured low field MRI machines, which were on sale in the 90s of the last centuries. And as far as I know, maybe several dozens of such machines they were sold and installed. But they were low field machines. As for imported machines, everybody who is working with experimental MRI knows a very fine name of Bruker company. And I was the lucky guy who worked with the first Bruker installation. I mean, for clinical purposes. In Russia, it was at that time I was a resident in the USSR Cardiology Research Center, headed by academician Evgeny Chazov, and it was a starting point of clinical use of clinical MR in Soviet Union. And I'm still very happy to know, because having position of the head of radiology here at the Moscow University, I'm very happy that still one of these Bruker machines, you can see posters, still in operation and working both for, I believe the doctor also Anisimov knows that he's still using it for both for experimental studies and for clinical applications. And initially, start of clinical MRI in Soviet Union was very slow, because at that time a lot of those days opinion leaders, very respected professors as academicians, they were. Many of them, they're very critical about MRI. They said that, CT is so good that actually we don't need any other modalities. This, well, funny and not good images, from some nuclear magnetic resonance. So no need to buy these expensive machines. Well, CT is more than enough. So I can tell you that in 1990, the huge country had just 16 low field MRI machines. And the first superconductive scanner, I don't know, never heard about its fate, but it was bought for city of Kherson, which is now Ukraine. And the first high field MRI, it was a magnetron from Siemens, it was again installed at my hospital at that time. And at the same time, our friends from the Burdenko Neurosurgery Institute, they left, but academician Potapov and academician Pronin, they got in their hands at the same year 1 Tesla, also Siemens magnetron for research in their hospital. But after that, well, you see that first, one of the first images with the Soviet-made scanner. You see on the top, you can see letters. It's in Russian, but maybe I believe probably as far as I know, they use it again, Bruker machine as a prototype for this scanner. This one for me looks like a thermography more than MRI, but nevertheless, it's a history. And well, it's me. Well, it's a kind of self-promotion how I was looking 30 years ago, standing in front of Bruker machine. And one of few papers about experimental animals. Again, at that time, Cardiology Research Center, they had an experimental center where academician, for example, Tkachuk was the head of laboratory, who is, as you know now, dean of medical faculty here. So at that time, we cooperated in such types of examinations. But, well, coming to current situation, I took the statistic from the official figures of our Ministry of Health and from information provided by our good friend of us, Professor Igor Turin, who is the chief specialist, chief radiologist of the Russian Ministry of Health. For me, these figures, they look a little bit strange. So I don't like them, honestly, because it's just numbers. You see, if you look into the numbers, the huge amount of X-ray and fluoroscopic examinations are performed in Russia, and I was always seeking with what purpose they had been done, because I have suspicions that most of them they were done maybe just formally, just for routine checkups without no real clinical information, because high informative, high-tech examination, they have just a very small little share of these 246 millions of radiological examination annually. And again, if you look into these plots, so it looks like from one side, being a clinical radiologist, everybody speaks about CT and MRI. So usually all of us, we know, not because X-ray is bad, but we know that CT or MRI, they see much more, they give much more information. But by numbers, there is not comparable with what we are doing globally. And I believe the situation should be changed. It's an issue of clinical indications. I believe that in our country, the problem is that in many cases, chest X-ray or any other abdominal X-ray are done just for nothing, because just to point that yes, we have done it, not thinking about real clinical outcome. Speaking about CT and MRI, that's blown up part of this graph, you see that it shows you trends along these years, and we see clearly that CT is, well, on the top, so CT is cheaper, it's maybe more needed in clinical practice, but you see also there is a steady growth of MRI procedures, and actually together with interventional radiology, and very interesting that in spite of growth of PET centers in our country, still I'm surprised to see actually a flat or even declining number of nuclear medicine procedures, maybe because many of obsolete SPECT scanners are, well, closed and replaced with PET scanners, well, with figures. So again, if you look into the graphs, again, the same figures as CT, MRI, nuclear medicine, and intervention, we see the trend. So clearly, CT and MRI are number one and number two by the rate of the penetration into the clinical practice. And if you to see the numbers, it's again numbers from the official statistics. It's a number of the units, absolute number of units. This is CT, this is MRI, this is angio units and nuclear medicine units. But I'm a little bit surprised that, to hear that our Ministry of Health collects just information from public health care. But as you know now, our private sector is quite big. So at least I believe that no less than maybe 300 or 400, for example, MRI machines should be added up to this figure, because there's a lot of, we have several very big private chains of MRI scanners. The biggest chain of MRI scanners in our countries, they have more than 100 MRI units, for example. So that's so real figures are quite bigger. Just a little bit of comparison. I found on the internet statistics from Great Britain, and if you look into the Great Britain and compare, this is Russia, this is Great Britain, you see that. Still trend is the same, a lot of X-rays if you look into the absolute numbers, but the percentage of MRI, it's relative values, a percentage. I'm not speaking about the absolute numbers. MRI is bigger, 7% versus 1. CT is again bigger, and we do more ultrasound because of parts of shares of MR and CT. So it shows that I believe that still CT and MRI in our country is a public health care. Professor Ulugbekova mentioned that our systems of public health care, Great Britain, Russia, are similar, but you see usage is a little bit quite different. What about numbers of scanners per population? As you know, it depends on the system of organization, and not always the, well, countries with the best healthcare, they have biggest numbers. For example, you see Italy is on the top and Great Britain is here. It's statistics from the European Union, the year 2012. So I calculate what takes place in Russia. Russia is here, so we're not far away from Great Britain, as you see. So So we are not on the top, but we are not at the bottom, I mean, by number of installation. But the key issue is, again, how all these units are used, I mean, in clinical settings. What is efficacy? Well, and it's another question. So, and in that case, it's not, situation is not so good, because if you look into other graphics, it's a average number of CT and MRI examinations per 1,000, 1,000 inhabitants. In that case, you see that again we are not on the top. So with MRI, each scanner does probably 11 examinations per 1,000 people, and for CT it's 36 per 1,000 people. It's again not on the top of this scale. And if you look into where is Great Britain, it's here. United Kingdom, it's here. Yeah? Much higher. So I mean, the efficacy approximately with the same number of units per million populations, efficacy of their usage is higher. But again, speaking about trends, but from other side, you see the demands from public healthcare for purchase, for installation of new MRI machines is quite high. So you see for 6 years, number of MRI machines doubled in public healthcare, not speaking about private healthcare, where each private hospital, for them it's a must to buy, if it's not just an outpatient office, to buy an MRI scanner, of course. And but another issue about how do we use them, and again it's a big statistics. I mean the global figure, and again I don't like it, because as you know, you can do a lot of fantastic things with MRI, practically a lot of very unusual and tricky applications. But if you look into the global view, maybe it's not so much illustrative. On the next slide, I'm going to show you. The structure. So you see structure is that 33 and 45%, so it means that in total it's a 78%. It's a brain and spine. So I mean, easiest applications. I mean, still, of course, we know from one side it's field where MRI is on the top of any other imaging modality. From the other side, I'm very sad to see that very share, for example, of using MRI for heart vessels, for mediastinal lungs, very low. You see, so practically for mediastinal and lungs, it's practically not existing. So figures are very low. Look at these figures. Yeah, compared with the brain, yeah, and mediastinal and lungs. So I mean, clinically, many radiologists or referring doctors, they believe that the clinical need is very low. So I believe I would be happy to see a change of the situation and spread of MRI into the other fields, not only to central nervous system. But of course, well, and about machines, of course, in the 90s, again, Russia was buying not so much expensive low field and mid field MRI machines, but today we know what I'm always saying, that if someone wants to get the most from MRI scanner, it must be a superconductive machine. And it's a global trend. So now in Western Europe, in our country, if you look into the current situation, most of our machines are high field 1.5 Tesla machines plus 3 Tesla machines. So far, we have no machines above 3 Tesla. But as I'm sure that 1 or 2 machines are bought, but they are under installation, not launched into the operation. And the percentage of low and mid-field machines is decreasing. So you see, in just 2011, it was almost 50% of machines with 1 Tesla and below. Now we see the shrinkage of this segment because all these machines are put out of operation. Many producers, they don't produce, all big players, all big vendors, they do not produce any more machines with 1 Tesla or 0.5 Tesla field, so they concentrated mostly on the machines with 1.5 and higher field strengths. And just summing up situation, what I said to sum up was that because not of course it's clinical application of MRI is not only the brain and spine. Of course, in every hospital people do a lot of bones and joints, pelvic studies, abdominal MRI, breast studies, and so on. But actually, in Russia, you can find hospitals which can do on the expert levels very complicated studies like functional MRI, tractography, or well, myocardial perfusion or brain perfusion. I can refer you to one of posters from Dr. Anisimov, which shows you scope of all possible applications, not internationally, but what's done here in our country. But from other side, and by numbers, as I said, for example, in Moscow is, from my point of view, in Moscow there is access to, in St. Petersburg, access to MRI scanner is not a problem anymore. Then in public healthcare, anyone can get appointment for the free brain or spine or abdominal MRI using the medical insurance. But again, the question is how this equipment is used. And the obvious trend, the number of private MR centers or MR medical centers having MRI machines is steadily increasing. Just a few examples. I'm not going to show you what's general possible with MRI, but a big issue, everybody speaks about it because actually what's gases for MRI, actually for me it's a contrast agent, yeah, which is inhaled. And all of us, we know that in our country situation with paramagnetic contrast media, classic contrast media, from my point of view, is quite good because in Russia, all major brands of gadolinium contrast agents, they are on the market and use it for many years. And now already we have not only original products, we have generic agents from India, from China, from Korea. Some domestic generics are under development. But for many years, since 80s, there are several groups here in the university, in other centers and cities where people do their own version of GADO or ferrite agents, or again, I can refer to posters about nanoparticles here at this conference. But as usual, the problem is about translation. Yeah? Can they be launched and use it as a clinical? Because you can cook a lot of substances, agents that could be used as a contrast agent. The question is, do really we need them clinically or not? Because I'm following situation with contrast agents, and I know that many big vendors, they close it several after the third phase of clinical trials, they close it and removed from the market several contrast media, not because they were bad. They were very good, but they decided that, for example, market share and sales are going to be very low. In that case, it made no use to produce them. And now all of us, we know that's a big gadolinium scandal, that's GADO accumulation in the brain. From my point of view, it's, maybe I'm wrong, but I believe it's blown up. Maybe from my point of view, it's not so much serious because no harm was reported for this phenomena, but it has it's a big problem because in Europe, we know that EMEA, European Medicine Agency, they recommended, so I would say ordered, to remove linear chelates, so most popular gadolinium agents, most popular worldwide and in our country too, like Magnevista, Omniscan, or Optimer, from the market, and to replace them with microcyclic chelates. And in general, it's again revive talks about potential danger related with gadolinium agents. So now I believe it's a very good time for researchers because now everybody now speaks, let's do something to substitute gadolinium, something else, something better or safer than gadolinium. So I believe it's a very big now good times for people who are working with experimental contrast agents. That's really interesting. But of course, in our country, we have some problems. Some of our problems are domestic, some of them are general. Domestic problems are as follows. From residency in radiology is too short, because usually in our country it's shorter than in Western Europe or in North America. So, and usually very not sufficient time is devoted to training in MR. So most of the time devoted to training in classical X-ray and CT is the first thing. General problem for Europe. I mean, the health authorities usually they're very slow in replacing the MR scanner. So if it's working, let it be working. So maybe it's obsolete. I mean, from the medical point of view, but it's works. So let's keep it. So that's why, for example, European Society of Radiology, they issue a so-called white paper saying that life cycle of a MR scanner shouldn't exceed 10 years, which is not not only in Russia, but also in many countries like Great Britain or France. There are a lot of MR stimulation with a life beyond, which I use it more than 10 years. With current economical situation, I know it pretty well when hospitals should care themselves about their budget. So everybody speaks about reimbursement. So for me, actually, I don't comprehend how, for example, city hospital, federal hospital can buy not just a plain MRI machine, but high-end MRI machine, which is good both for research and clinical applications, because reimbursement rates are very low. So hospital cannot generate enough money to buy in 5, 6, or 7 years new high-end scanners. That's a real problem. Problem is maintenance. Problems, but speaking about problems, and I'm very glad that we are meeting here. So Professor Pirogov, thank you very much for the invitation. That still, I believe that we are lacking contacts between researchers and scientists working with nuclear magnetic resonance and radiologists who are using it clinically. So both ends, both sides, we don't know what other side is doing actually. And we meet here, so it's always a big surprise. For example, about success, how much has been done, for example, by your laboratories, for example, or by our colleagues from Nottingham. So let's see each other more often. Maybe in that case, we will come up with better ideas how to use it. And I believe that Dr. Ashekman also will say a few words in his talks about clinical applications of the innovation in healthcare. So, and just in the end, few words about societies. Again, I know there's a lot of niche societies devoted to experimental MR, but for us, like radiologists, of course, in the United States, there are excellent radiological societies, but being in Europe is for ours a major society or a major partner is European Society of Radiology. There's a lot of sessions devoted to magnetic resonance. Each has sub-societies, and one of the, from my point of view, the best sub-society for us is, of course, European Society of Magnetic Resonance in Biology. Medicine, I believe they propose a very good balance between research and practice, both sides on a very high professional level. Of course, there is an International Society of Magnetic Resonance, but honestly, in our country, I mean, at least radiologists, we are not active in the International Society. We more or less somehow take part in the activities of the European Society. About new trends, well, and again, it's a topic of a separate lecture, but we know that we want, as radiologists, we want to have everything faster, we want everything done in 3D format, and we want functional information, and we want quantifications. That's always that's why there were questions about, for example, gases, what's reproducibility, how I can do quantification, and so on. That's very important. And I'm very of course, a lot of need for better image analysis, because for many of MR applications, image analysis, all of you know it, is quite time consuming. So we want better tools to do automatically or semi-automatically data analysis. And I'm very glad to see that new non-medical applications of MRI, slowly, but they are increasing, and not international, but here in Russia there are groups who are working with the virtopsy, with the imaging of the ancient artifacts, like some archaeological objects or animals, plants, materials, and so on and so forth. So that's it. And so I believe that the general trend is to search to find answers to clinical questions with a greater speed, accuracy, precision, and the cost effectiveness. And this is a promotion of our National Congress of Radiology, which takes place every year in the end of the first week of November, and each time we invite international guests, so probably why not to invite your group for one of congresses. For example, this year we are going to welcome a group of from American College of Radiologists. Yeah. Thank you very much for your attention, and we're ready to answer your questions.
I noticed that when you were showing the usage of the different modalities, that CT had a sort of very recent spike beyond the general trend. Was that adoption of I don't know, spiral or CT? Was it a new methodology?
No new method. I believe just a bigger number of scanners because prices drop down, so they're quite cheap. I mean, and from other side, it's like with cars. You know, what was elite scanner 10 years ago? Now it's a low-end CT scanner, and with CT scanners actually, if you are not looking for such application like coronary imaging or perfusion imaging, I mean for body applications like plain lung CT or abdominal CT, performance of the 16-row scanner is the same like performance of dual source 220-row scanner. I mean, from diagnostic point of view. So actually, so many hospitals, and because of economical restraints, many hospitals buy. Probably everybody wants to buy, you know, expensive cars, but they should be satisfied with something more plain, yeah, more mundane, something more simple. So more and more medical institutions, they can afford themselves to buy a low-end or middle-range CT scanner. And for medical practice, for radiology, you can do a lot. Of course, MR is better, especially as I said, for abdominal imaging, for pelvic, for brain, for practically for every area. But from other side, CT is much cheaper, and you can do more patients per day. So productivity of CT scanner is much higher than of MRI, and maintenance is cheaper. So that's why still, like in Europe, by number of CT units is above the MRI. Of course, it's radiation exposure. Everybody speaks about it, but nevertheless, I mean, radiation exposure in accepted ranges, it's okay, and nobody fall ill from CT scan if it was used appropriately.
There are no more questions. Let's
Thank you.
Speaker again. We move on to the last presentation of the afternoon, which is on overview of precision medicine in the Russian healthcare system, given by Yaroslav Kim.
Hello, thank you very much. To give me the possibility to say some words about this extremely difficult topic. So, we are living in the area of shift of medical paradigms to the more patient-centered approach, more precise. And that's a huge question, what is the precision medicine? Sometimes, today we talk about it, but it's the problem, like for geography, is to say what is Russia, that contains heavy Crimea. That's not like here, not yet. That's Kaliningrad Oblast, you know. And the Toshiba, fortunately, is not a sponsor of today's meeting. That's why that's Kurilos. That's Russian. So, and for some MR specialists, that's so harsh to hear that hyperpolarization MRI, it's not precision medicine, that's a method, very precise method of conventional medicine. I don't know. So that's your wonderful conference because I'm here as near the Japanese people. Yeah? So, but precision medicine and like tailored, that's not personalized and individualized. Yeah. And thinking from the mechanistic point of view, that's not only the resource question, there's question of attitude to patient, and in Russia, that's when we see on the Russian perspective, that's much more important to what is the patient that you treat. It's you can treat it in precise way when this that is very, very important people. So, and some other people, it might be treated as not so precise way. So, and so that's not individualized because the precision medicine refers to the tailoring of medical treatment to the individual characteristics of each patient, but it does not literally mean the creation of drugs or medical devices that are unique to the patient, but rather the ability to classify individuals and subpopulations. That is very important, the difference in their susceptibility to a particular disease. I'm sorry, that the slides, not last variant of slides, I'm worried about there is some mistakes here. So that's growth medicine. And when you see it from the perspective of the patient, they see on the precision medicine like on to the personalized. That's the advertisement usually to patient. This patient suggests that the treatment is really personalized, but this personalization is going from the clinical trial, and trialists take the better aims from their own decision. And really, you see that personalized medicine is not group now, but tailored or precision medicine might be treated as growth medicine, but using the precise experiments. So here I see about some molecules. I have no conflict of interest. So, and only the my personal view will be enclosed here. So what is the individualization in the right way? So that's a particular other type of medicine when you see about the real personalization. So we can take the tumor fragment and make the analysis of the mutations and try to reconstruct the signal pathways using the bioinformatic analysis and using not common aids, not common biomarkers, and try to see on the proteome, which is more and more important, and metabolome. And what is particularly important for radiologists, you can try to find the correlations between the proteome, metabolome, genome, and radium. Okay, and I think that's very important question that's not covered in Russia at all. The radiomics and theranostics. You know about them. Who know about theranostics here and radiomics? And radiomics, who knows about this? Wonderful. You're guys who need to know more than me. You know, because the radiomics will dramatically shift the cancer treatment from the dose to harmless concept to the concept of the concentration of the drug that's radiologically active and might be measured into the cancer. That's absolutely other concept of the cancer treatment. So that's really personalized medicine. So, and then you can try to find after this analysis of this bioinformatics data, sorry for this, you can find the real absolutely unique for this patient aims. The aims that it's not going from the clinical trials, that going from the head, but that have a very solid scientific background. And also, if you have no aims, that usually you can see that there is no drug, the files don't work. You can also test the drug that you have in avatars. That's that's a very long story about the use of people as avatars since Sloan Kettering Medical Center, that now is the first in the oncology. Now we're trying to use the mouse as avatars, we switch to the mouse, so we try to find the aims and try to see the treatment that will be effective in the avatar. Instead, the bioinformatic analysis saying that there is no effective drugs. So, and here we can just see two types of personalized medicine. The first personalized medicine, like some say that is close to precision medicine. That's the stuff that's driven by RCT data, with pre-specified biomarkers, and you know what to measure, and you know the effect. That's you have the evidence now. And the second, really personalized medicine for me is going from the genomics, radiomics, and pangenomics, panomics analysis, and we see that the area of these medicines is wider and wider, that covered some areas of uncertainty. And also many physicians thinking that the patient characteristics and the medicine adjusted to the patient personality is individualized medicine too. When you're speaking with doctors, they're saying, I use personal characteristics of patients and specific findings on the clinical examination that depends personalization. No, that's the convenient, conventional Osler's medicine, because you know that the Sir William Osler was the first medical person who could say that you need to use the personality characteristics. That's why for me it's not individualized medicine. For me, the individualized medicine uses this stuff like radiomics. So, primary, I would like to say about the not precise, sorry for this medicine at Russia, to go into the precise, because that's a talk for our guests primary. So the huge problem is very low adherence to the clinical guidelines and ignorance of target therapy. That's primarily due to the extremely limited resources and very low level of education in Russia. Also, patients don't like to be treated usually in a precise way. They would like to hear the cannula, the doctor is cannula, they say that's the treatment, just take it or you die. They don't like to discuss with doctor the different perspectives Russians is specialists usually. And they have the huge problems, the pressure of investigative committee. You know about this? Usually that's the best idea not to treat patient at all, because if the patient in the clinic dying by the disease that he admits, you have a chief physician, you have no problems. When you try to deliver the high quality medical treatment, you have more complications rate, you have more problems. They have huge problem with this. So that's you know, when you see on the Russian medicine, when I remember the public of Angola, you know, that's the expo, and many countries showed the best that can do it. That's the national economy achievement of Angola. It's water. They say that yes, we can do with water. So in the Russia, the medicine is like water in Angola. All know how to do this. But if you're a chief physician, you will have the huge talk with shaman about this water. You will have huge problems with the company who would like to take the monies more this water is costs. You know, that's why we have water in Russia, we have medicine in Russia. But the attention, like for me as physician, as for the miracle, because there are only few regions, only few regional centers have the real medicine. So, going to precision medicine, yes, we have. So, I had a questionnaire before this presentation. I asked many people who work in the medicine, where is it? And I have this landscape. So, the first is more widespread, is cancer treatment based on pharmacogenomic analysis. There is many groups that work in Moscow, St. Petersburg, Novosibirsk. The tumor infiltrating lymphocytes, you know that the novel trend, the immunotherapy 2.0, that's we have the group of Professor Demidov and my dear friend Igor Samolenko that work in a Russian oncological center. They have 2 to 3 patients per year. And also in the Novosibirsk, we know the people group that working with lymphocytes with chimeric antigen receptor that might be adjusted for the specific characteristics of the tumor of some patients. And also we have a very good group of private clinic Genetico that's working. They're doing state-of-the-art pre-implantation genetic testing. They can do the genetic testing in each cell of embryo to take the embryo, healthy embryo, from the father and mother with genetic abnormalities. But okay, that the centers, that's the Moscow and St. Petersburg. Vladivostok and Blagoveshchensk. In Vladivostok and Blagoveshchensk, there is some people who working on personalized neurology, Professor Borodin. And Kazan is now rising and as a center of personalized medicine. There is Marat Gardeev who works on the cancer fields and in the real personalized cancer pharmacogenomics. In Novosibirsk, there is people who working on the cardiopharmacogenomics, Professor Lifshitz. And there is not so many groups. That's why I say in these particular names. And the Tomsk, you know, the Tomsk is the city where the between the century the people that was against the government was go to the prison in the Tomsk. That's why there is a special culture now in the Siberia, in the Tomsk city. And my personal opinion that the far from Ministry of Health, the better medicine at all, due to the not so high exposure to the Sauron's eye. So, and if you see on the Moscow, the huge problem is you know, I don't know, do you know Potemkin's village term? No, the Potemkin's village term is idiom like smoke and mirrors or the window dressing. So while I have my friend who works in some very big institution with huge mega grant, and at the one time the people who got the grant was in the lab, and the chief of my friend asked my friend to show the stem cells that should be raised for using the money from mega grant. But my friend said there is no stem cells. We don't do this, and you know, as a chief of lab. He said that's okay. Just take every cell that you have, because these people they don't know any. They will see, and this big guy from the government go and see. And they say, the chief of lab say, yeah, that's the stem cells. Don't worry. You see this? Yes, that's the stem cells. They say that was just HeLa cells, not stem. And every time when you at Russia, you need to be very precise and go into the very tiny aspects to see that's not the window dressing. And the second problem in Russian physicians, they would like to reinvent the bicycle, and they're using it even if you don't finance the not good instruments. They can use the instruments that you even don't imagine that they use it. And when you see the real center of personalized or precise medicine in Russia, that's like oasis. That's every time that's miracle. And we're really proud of this center. So that's the Precision Medical Center. That's there is many criticism for this, but the medicine is survived here. That's Russian Oncological Center named by Blokin. That's endocrinological center. That's the center of hematology named after the Dima Rogachev. I'm sorry, that's difficult to. So the center of Dima Rogachev that working with stem cells and working on the field of hemoblastosis, trying to do a really personalized people for the children with hemoblastosis. That's one of the private clinic atlas with oncologists who trying to do a really personalized cancer treatment based on the basis of deep pharmacogenomic testing. That's the Petrov Center in St. Petersburg, working on the oncology, and we have the very strong group in Russian Medical Academy of Postgraduate Education with the chief professor Sychov, who is one of the, for my point. That's one of the fathers of he's young, but it's fathers of our rational, really personalized pharmacogenomics. So what is not in use? The bioinformatics is in infancy, because groups that working in Russia, from the clinical side, they usually use the pharmacogenomic testing done by the United States, like Harris. And here, the groups, for example, group in Atlas, they use SNP analysis rather than the whole exome screening and the whole genome sequencing, because we know that the future is bioinformatic analysis of the whole exome or genome sequencing rather than SNP analysis. We don't have the technologies for extended modification of lymphocyte surface. That's on the cutting edge now in the immunotherapy of cancer. You know about the microbiota. Who knows about the links between the microbiota immune system and the brain, and the stroke, for example? You know, no. The microbiota in the center, going in the center of personalized medicine, because we see the very tiny interactions between the immune system and vascular system, and genetic modification of bacteria is on the frontier of science. We don't do in this, and we have no drug testing of avatars, and also we're working on the genomic level, but I don't know the groups that working on proteome and metabolome. And I also especially ask my radiologists, my friends from the radiology, about the radiogenomics and theranostics. I know a few centers that try only to use lutetium and some novel markers, but it's not in the clinical use now, unfortunately. So, and what is that's the last slide. What is most important from the view of the progress? The first is, for my opinion, the political, legal, and educational aspects for the Russian healthcare system is more important than the financial deficit. The second is we really now closing from the international society, and that's why that's so important to have Britain people, professors from United Kingdom here, because I believe that the most important aspect to be really progressive and to translate personalized approach in the Russian healthcare system is to have the meetings like we have today. So thank you so much. I really have a big hug from you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that fascinating insight. If I need to avail myself of personalized medicine in Russia, I'll be careful to seek good advice first. Are there any questions, comments? Do your colleagues want to defend personalized medicine? No? Okay. Well,
and maybe any criticism. Maybe some people here say
after you, there is no place for criticism.
No. Okay. Well, let's thank our speaker again, and in fact, let's thank all our speakers for a great first day.
Thank you.
I hope somebody knows what we're doing next. Waiting for a bus. Is that right? Ah.
Okay. Dear colleagues, thank you for the main session now. And the next step is we're going to pick up our bus just nearby this building at about 16. Okay, so it will be in about 25 minutes from now. The bus will be waiting us near this building. So together in front of this building again at 4 p.m. Okay?
Сколько за это можно обходиться?
Да, закрывать.
Да, я тоже чуть забыла.
Не знаю. Нет, со столовой выходить.
Александр Николаевич, где нас заберут еще?
А что забыли?
Где нас заберут?
Водить из программы.
Дайте новые.
Сейчас я новый.
Нас надо заберут.